My sister-in-law tried to seduce me, and when I rejected her she edited our text to make it look like I was having an affair with her, but my security cameras caught her plan. I, 36M, never thought I'd be in this situation. Been married to Sadie, 34F, for 8 years now, together for 10. We met in college through mutual friends and hit it off immediately. She's smart, funny, caring, everything I could want in a partner. We've built a great life together, never had any major issues until now. The problem isn't with Sadie though, it's with her older sister Emma, 37F. Some background that's important to understand the situation. Emma and Sadie had a complicated childhood. Their parents clearly favored Sadie, something both sisters acknowledge. While Sadie got new clothes and dance lessons, Emma got hand-me-downs and was told to focus on academics. Sadie was the pretty, popular one who could do no wrong. Emma was the responsible, serious one who had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. This dynamic followed them into adulthood. Sadie became a nurse, helping people and making her parents proud. Emma went into corporate law, making good money but never quite getting the same approval. She married young to her college boyfriend, but that ended 2 years ago when he cheated with a 25-year-old paralegal from his firm. The divorce was messy, he tried to hide assets, claimed she was too focused on work, typical stuff. Sadie was incredibly supportive during this time, letting Emma stay with us for almost 3 months while she got back on her feet. I was fine with Emma staying with us initially. She seemed broken by the divorce, and family helps family, right? She was actually great to have around at first, helped with cooking, kept the house clean, was respectful of our space. Sadie works 12-hour shifts at the hospital, sometimes nights, so it was nice having someone else around. I work from home as a software developer, so I'm always here. The problem started gradually, so gradually I almost didn't notice at first. About 6 months ago, after she'd moved into her own place nearby, Emma started dropping by more frequently. Usually when Sadie was at work. At first, it was normal stuff, borrowing sugar, asking about computer problems, bringing over leftover food she'd made. But then things started getting weird. She began showing up in increasingly revealing outfits. Like, seriously inappropriate for visiting your sister's husband. Yoga pants so tight you could see everything, low-cut tops that showed way too much when she'd lean over my desk to look at something on my computer. She started finding excuses to touch me, brushing lint off my shoulder, touching my arm while laughing at something I said, accidentally bumping into me in the kitchen. Then came the requests for help at her new place. Her Wi-Fi wasn't working right. Her TV needed mounting. Her garbage disposal was making weird noises. Every time I'd go over, always telling Sadie first, Emma would be dressed in tiny shorts and a sports bra, claiming she was in the middle of a workout. She'd bend over unnecessarily, stand too close while I was working, make comments about how strong I was. I tried to keep things professional, make excuses, avoid being alone with her. But she's persistent. She got my number from Sadie's phone and started texting me constantly. Nothing explicitly inappropriate at first, just random questions about tech stuff, funny memes, that sort of thing. But then came the selfies. Her asking my opinion on outfits, all revealing. Pictures of her working out in spandex. Yesterday she sent me a bikini pic asking if it was too revealing for the family beach trip next month. Last week things went from uncomfortable to alarming. Sadie was working a night shift, and Emma showed up at 9 p.m. claiming her heating wasn't working and she was freezing. When I opened the door, she was wearing this silk robe thing that barely covered anything. She asked to stay until her heating was fixed. I let her in because what else could I do? She's family, it was cold, and I didn't want to cause drama. Throughout the evening, she kept finding reasons to touch me. She sat unnecessarily close on the couch while watching TV, her robe riding up. At one point, she accidentally spilled water on herself and asked to borrow one of my shirts. I gave her one of Sadie's instead, but she pouted and said she preferred men's shirts, they smell better. She ended up using a blanket instead, but made sure to let the robe slip off her shoulder a few times. The final straw came when she was leaving around midnight. She hugged me, which wasn't unusual, but this time she pressed herself against me way too hard and held on too long. Then she whispered in my ear that she's always wondered what it would be like to be with a man like me. She said Sadie was lucky, and that sometimes she gets jealous of her perfect little sister with her perfect life and perfect husband. Before I could process what was happening, she kissed me on the cheek, way too close to my mouth, letting her lips linger. Then she just left, leaving me standing there in shock. Now I'm stuck in an impossible situation. If I tell Sadie, it could destroy their relationship. Sadie adores Emma and feels guilty about their childhood. She's always trying to make up for being the favored child. They're closer now than they've ever been, and Sadie constantly talks about how glad she is to have her sister in our lives. If I confront Emma directly, who knows how she'll spin it. She's a lawyer, she knows how to manipulate situations. She could easily turn this around and make me look like the aggressor. Maybe claim I misread her friendliness as flirting. Or worse, claim I came on to her. But if I do nothing, I'm afraid things will escalate. Just yesterday, she showed up at my home office window while I was on a work call, wearing barely their workout clothes, asking if I wanted to join her for a run. When I declined, she stayed there stretching for a good 10 minutes, putting on a show right in front of my window. I've started keeping records of everything, screenshots of texts, times she shows up unannounced, a log of inappropriate behavior. But I don't know what to do with this information. I love Sadie more than anything. We've talked about starting a family soon, buying a house, building a future together. I don't want to be the reason she loses her relationship with her sister, but I also can't keep dealing with Emma's behavior. I need advice on how to handle this without destroying my marriage or causing a family crisis. Has anyone dealt with something similar? How do you reject someone's advances without creating drama when that person is family? Update 1. Things have escalated beyond what I ever imagined. After my last post, I took the advice many of you gave and started documenting everything meticulously. I saved all texts, started recording times and dates of Emma's visits, and kept detailed notes of every inappropriate interaction. I even installed security cameras in our common areas, just to be safe. Many of you warned me that this situation could blow up in my face. You were right, but not in the way any of us expected. Last Saturday, while Sadie was working a 12-hour shift at the hospital, Emma showed up at our door crying. Not her usual calculated tears, but full-on sobbing. Against my better judgment, I let her in. I kept my distance, staying on the opposite side of the room, and asked what was wrong. She collapsed onto our couch, the same one where she'd tried to seduce me weeks before, and started talking about how lonely she's been since her divorce. She went on about how seeing Sadie and me together makes her realize what she's missing, how her ex never treated her the way I treat Sadie. Then she looked at me with these sad eyes and dropped the bomb. She claimed we had a moment last month during that night she came over with the heating issue. According to her, there was this intense connection between us. She said she caught me staring at her that night, that she felt the electricity between us. When I firmly told her she was imagining things and that I needed her to leave, she got angry. Her tears dried up instantly, and this cold look came over her face. That's when she told me she'd already spoken to Sadie about our relationship. She pulled out her phone and showed me texts she'd sent Sadie. I felt sick looking at them. She had carefully edited screenshots of our conversations, deleting her provocative messages and leaving only my responses, which out of context looked suggestive. She'd even photoshopped some of my texts, making innocent comments look flirty. In one exchange where she'd asked for help with her TV and I said no problem, happy to help, she'd edited it to say can't wait to come over and help you. She had dozens of these edited conversations, building a fake narrative of me pursuing her over months. She told Sadie that she'd been keeping quiet about my advances to protect her, but the guilt was eating her alive. She claimed I kept finding excuses to come to her house, that I complimented her appearance inappropriately, that I made her uncomfortable with suggestive comments. The worst part? She had actual pictures of me at her house, all the times I'd gone over to help with various things, always with Sadie's knowledge. But now these innocent visits look suspicious in light of her story. She even used the security camera footage from her door, which I helped install, ironically, to show how often I'd been there. When Sadie came home that night, everything was different. She could barely look at me. She went straight to our bedroom without saying a word. When I followed her, trying to explain, she just held up her hand and said she needed time to think. I tried to show her the real texts, the unedited versions, but Emma had already poisoned that well. She told Sadie I might try to show her edited messages to cover my tracks. She told Sadie not to believe anything I tried to show her because I'm tech savvy and could easily fake evidence. It was like Emma had thought of everything. Every possible defense I could offer, she had already undermined. She used my own job against me, because I work in tech. She suggested I could easily fake any digital evidence I tried to present in my defense. The next few days were hell. Sadie slept in the guest room. She went to work, came home, barely spoke to me. Emma kept texting her, feeding her more twisted versions of events. I could see Sadie checking her phone constantly, probably getting more evidence of my supposed betrayal. I tried talking to her multiple times, but Emma had done such a thorough job that everything I said sounded like an excuse. When I told Sadie about Emma's revealing outfits, she said I must have been paying too much attention to notice. When I mentioned the inappropriate touching, she asked why I never brought it up before. The worst part is seeing the doubt in Sadie's eyes. This woman who has known me for 10 years, who I've built a life with, is actually wondering if I could have done this. Emma has played on all her insecurities, about being the favored child, about their complicated relationship, about everything. I'm writing this update from a hotel room. Sadie asked for space to figure things out. Emma has won, at least for now. She's destroyed my marriage with carefully crafted lies, and I don't know how to fight back. The evidence I collected seems useless now that she's poisoned Sadie against trusting anything from me. But I'm not giving up. I've hired a lawyer, not for divorce, but for defamation. I'm having a tech expert analyze the texts to prove they were edited. And I'm going through all our security camera footage with a fine-tooth comb. Emma might think she's won, but she doesn't know what I've got planned. I'll update again when I have more news. Right now, I need to focus on clearing my name and saving my marriage. I never thought I'd say this, but I actually hope Sadie remembers more about Emma's past behavior. There might be patterns there that could help my case. Update: too many of you asked for an update, And what I'm about to share will probably make your blood boil. Remember how I mentioned setting up security cameras in our house when Emma's behavior started getting weird? Well, after moving to the hotel, I finally had time to go through all the footage. What I found sent me into a rage I've never experienced before. The cameras caught Emma sneaking into our house multiple times when we were out. She had a key because Sadie gave her one for emergencies, something I always felt uneasy about but never wanted to argue over. The footage showed her methodically planting evidence around our house. In one video from last week, while we were at dinner with Sadie's parents, Emma spent almost an hour in our bedroom. She planted her earrings on my nightstand, tucked her hair ties in my drawer, and even slid a piece of her lingerie under our bed. She was clearly setting the stage for her next big reveal to Sadie. But the most disturbing footage was from 3 days ago. Emma came over while we were both at work and took pictures of herself in our bed. She messed up the sheets, left some of her clothes scattered around, and took multiple selfies from different angles. I can only imagine she was planning to use these to suggest we'd been having an affair in my own marriage bed. The footage also caught her practicing her story in our bathroom mirror, complete with fake tears and rehearsed lines. She went over it multiple times, tweaking her performance. "Sadie, I can't keep this secret anymore. Your husband. He's been pursuing me. I tried to discourage him. I feel so guilty." When I showed Sadie the footage, she broke down completely. She couldn't speak for almost an hour, just sat there watching her sister's calculated betrayal play out on screen. Then she told me something that changed everything. This wasn't the first time Emma had done this. Back in high school, Sadie had been dating this guy Tom for 2 years. They were serious, talking about going to the same college. Emma, who was in college at the time, came home one weekend and claimed Tom had tried to kiss her while Sadie was at cheerleading practice. She cried, showed Sadie texts, which I now suspect were edited, and even had a witness, her friend who later admitted she was paid to lie. Sadie believed her sister then because why wouldn't she? Emma was her protective big sister who'd never lie to her. Tom denied everything, tried to show Sadie evidence that Emma was lying, but Sadie trusted her sister over him. They broke up, and Tom transferred to a different school to escape the rumors Emma spread about him. Sadie sat there crying, realizing she'd almost let history repeat itself. Emma had used her guilt about their childhood, her trust, and her love against her. She'd manipulated Sadie's memories of the Tom incident to make her doubt me, knowing Sadie would be afraid of not believing her sister again. I wasn't even angry anymore at this point, just sad for my wife. She had lost her sister twice, once to the revelation of who Emma really was back then, and now to the confirmation that Emma had never changed. We took the footage to Sadie's parents. They had always defended Emma, always made excuses for her behavior. But watching their eldest daughter methodically try to destroy her sister's marriage opened their eyes. Emma's childhood jealousy of Sadie had never gone away, it had just gotten more sophisticated, more calculated. Sadie moved back home from her parents' house where she'd been staying. We're working on rebuilding trust, not because she doubts me anymore, but because this whole experience has made her question her own judgment. She keeps apologizing for doubting me, but I understand. Emma played on her deepest insecurities and manipulated years of complicated family dynamics. As for Emma, when she realized we had footage of everything, she tried to claim she was just testing me, trying to protect her sister from potentially being cheated on. When that didn't work, she had a complete meltdown, screaming that Sadie had taken everything from her their whole lives. It was chilling to watch, like she finally let her mask slip completely. I'll post one final update soon about what happened after this, but right now we're focused on healing. Sadie is in a bad place, realizing her sister is someone she never really knew. The woman she looked up to, who she trusted more than anyone, tried to destroy her marriage out of pure jealousy. Update 3. This will be my final update on this nightmare. A lot has happened since my last post, and you all deserve to know how this mess ended. After we caught Emma on camera, Sadie confronted her. It wasn't pretty. We invited Emma over, didn't tell her we had evidence. Sadie wanted to give her one chance to come clean. Emma showed up with her usual act, concerned sister, reluctant whistleblower, the whole performance. Sadie sat there quietly and let her spin her story again about how I'd been pursuing her, how she was just trying to protect her sister. Then Sadie played the security footage. Emma's face went through about 5 different emotions in 10 seconds, shock, anger, fear, then this weird calm. She tried claiming she was just testing me, setting up scenarios to see if I would cheat on Sadie. When that didn't work, she said she was trying to protect Sadie from ending up like her, cheated on and divorced. Finally, when she realized none of her lies were working, she snapped. Started screaming about how Sadie had everything handed to her their whole lives. How their parents always loved Sadie more, how Sadie got the perfect husband, the perfect job, the perfect life. She even brought up things from 20 years ago, childhood toys she never got, parties she wasn't allowed to go to, boys who liked Sadie instead of her. The scary part wasn't the screaming, it was what came after. She suddenly went completely calm and told Sadie she'd deserved everything. That she'd spent her whole life watching Sadie get everything she wanted, and for once, she wanted to take something away from her perfect little sister. She admitted she'd done the same thing with Sadie's high school boyfriend, said she'd do it again if she could. Sadie just looked at her and said, "Get out. Don't ever contact me or my husband again." Emma tried to argue, but Sadie stood firm. When Emma finally left, she slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. We moved 3 weeks later. Sadie got a transfer to a different hospital in another city, and I can work from anywhere. We didn't tell anyone in the family where we went except Sadie's parents, who finally saw Emma for who she really is. Emma tried to get ahead of the story, calling family members with her version of events. But we'd already shared the security footage with Sadie's parents, who shared it with the rest of the family. Nobody's talking to Emma now. Last we heard, she moved to another state after her law firm found out about everything. Apparently, they weren't thrilled about having a lawyer who doctors evidence. Sadie struggles sometimes. She'll see something that reminds her of Emma and just break down. She lost not just her sister, but her whole childhood. Every memory is now tainted by the knowledge that Emma was probably resenting her the whole time. But we're working through it. Sadie's focusing on her new job, and we're trying for a baby. I installed a top-of-the-line security system in our new house. Old habits die hard. We changed our phone numbers, emails, everything. Emma tried to reach out once through a fake account, but we blocked it immediately. Sometimes I think about how different things would be if Emma had just gone to therapy for her childhood issues instead of letting them fester into this destructive jealousy. But that's not our problem anymore. We're focused on building our new life, away from toxic family drama. The silver lining? Sadie and I are stronger than ever. Nothing bonds you quite like surviving someone's attempt to destroy your marriage. We've learned to appreciate what we have and to be more careful about who we trust, even if they're family. Emma's actions cost her everything: her sister, her family, her reputation. Sometimes karma works out perfectly.